It's BRStv Reef FAQ Wednesday, and today we answer PAR versus PUR. Does it really matter? You might be surprised. Hey, I'm Ryan with BRStv Reef FAQs, where every week we do our best to help you guys enjoy your tanks and find new ways to explore the hobby. We do that with quick, straight-to-the-point answers to your questions. Today, it's PAR versus PUR. First, it was as simple as the number of bulbs we needed. Then someone measured PAR and told us that that was the holy grail and we need to set our LEDs to PAR numbers. Now, all we hear is PUR instead. Today, we'll get to the bottom of that and tell you distinctly what to listen to. The difference between the two is kind of subtle in name. PAR is photosynthetic active radiation versus PUR, which just swaps out that middle word, photosynthetic usable radiation. So what does that mean? Well, we all understand PAR is the #1 way that we measure the intensity of our lights, and it's generally accurate for our purposes. The thing is that it will pick up and measure some wavelengths of light that are not valuable to our application of growing corals. So it's good, but less than perfect tool for measuring and adjusting lights. So this is where PUR comes in the photosynthetic usable radiation, which in our case refers to what the corals are actually capable of using and doesn't count some of the spectrum which does show up on a PAR meter. So that sounds good, so why don't we all use PUR meters rather than PAR? Well, that's because there's no such thing, at least not at a price level available to a reefer. PUR is more of a concept or calculation based on a specific organism and its photosynthetic capabilities or needs. The Senai PAR meter does have a rough PUR calculation based on a few color sensors, but it's still really just a general idea versus being super precise. I think it's fair to assume that we won't see a highly accurate coral calibrated PUR meter in our industry. It would just be astronomically expensive. Open and honest, I actually don't get why the industry even discusses PUR. In fact, I think it unnecessarily confuses the conversation because it's more marketing hype than it is usable information by the home reefer. There's just one area where that conversation is valuable, but I also have 3 reasons why most reefers should just move on and consider PAR only. So this is that one area where the PUR concept is valid and usable to reefers, and that's when comparing one light source against another. People tend to do that by cranking everything to the max and sliding all the sliders to 100%, which is misleading because many of them no one would ever run the whites, greens, and reds at max. It'll show up in a PAR meter, but it's totally misleading because you'd never run the light that way. So some manufacturers use the PUR concept to share why they have a more efficient mix of LEDs and the output is optimized for the most usable photosynthetic usable radiation rather than just max PAR. We need more blues than whites. To simplify that, high PUR just means that there's a lot more blues in the LED lights mix, very few whites, greens, and reds. There's no need to find a PUR meter to confirm this because the less usable spectrum can be seen with the naked eye and is generally represented as an overly white tank. More or less, if your light requires you to crank down the whites to 20%, there might be too many white LEDs in there. Not that it's bad, it's just that you're paying for LEDs that you're not using. Okay, so outside of that conversation, I'd suggest reefers just completely forget the PUR concept when setting their tanks up, just because you're more likely to mess things up than make them better. These are the 3 reasons why that is. First, the vast majority of the light reefers use these days is in the blue range, which is in the PUR range. So while PUR defenders are right that their mentality is more accurate, if 80% of the light is in the PUR range, does it really even matter? Maybe when marketing a light, but not in actual function. Second, the entire hobby speaks in PAR numbers because they are measurable and accurate for our needs. That means most people are working with the same inaccuracies and the numbers they share have factored that in. So if you want to speak in PUR, get ready for the room to get rather small and less useful. And lastly, we will likely never see a real highly accurate PUR meter in our hobby, so trying to explain something that you can't measure and probably never will be able to is just sort of a waste of time. It actually decreases success by adding an unnecessary or difficult to act on theory. I actually put together a special playlist of just videos on lighting for those of you if you want to learn everything you possibly can and see corals respond accordingly, so check that out. We also release reef articles and videos every single weekday on the Bulk Reef homepage, so check it out as well. See you next Wednesday with the next batch of BRStv Reef FAQs.